Welcome, everybody. As mentioned by our host, Stefan from Adobe, my name is Bernard Aschwanden. I am also, depending on, I see some people from Europe, Bernard Aschwanden, if you prefer. I am the president and founder of a company called Publishing Smarter, and the session is titled DITA for All, How to Create, Collaborate, and Share Without Complexity. My QR code, I'll show it again later on. You can scan that with a phone. It goes to my LinkedIn profile, but you can also do a search. There's not a lot of Bernard Aschwandens that will come up anywhere. My email address and website are there as well, so I'll skip ahead. As far as background, I have done a lot of work around content strategy, publishing technologies, and am a certified technical trainer involved in content management, topic-based writing, structured content. The example here, of course, is DITA, and a past president and STC Associate Fellow, for those who are familiar with STC.org and what it does. Into the details. These are the 6 things I'm going to try to cover. DITA basics, how to create your own, the basics of reuse, some publishing, customizing, and putting things into a CCMS. So getting right into it, because I only have an hour and I tried to pack an awful lot of stuff into this. The basics of DITA, just making sure to level set a little bit, maps, topics, reuse at the end, just sort of a 5-minute conversation. I don't want to look at content sort of as it was in this chapter model where you would have a chapter and then these sections of 1A, 2A, 2B, and the associated approach of page 1, page 2, page 3, and working your way through the material. So I'm going to take that content and look at it from DITA instead. Now, the slides in the session, it's all recorded, so you can always jot down a slide number. If this is something you feel is important, just write down 7. No point in trying to capture every single thing. You can also go back through the recording later on, and if you wish, you can send me a note, and I will happily share the slides. So, DITA topics. These are basic units of content. Each topic is about one subject and can often and should be made into something more specific, such as a task, a concept, or a reference. Any of these 4, the topic, task, concept, reference, should be small enough so that it supports reuse, but still large enough that you can coherently author it and make sense. I'll show you a couple of samples in a few minutes. If each one addresses a single subject, then as an author, you can organize them logically and come up with some sort of a narrative that might be similar to the chapter model I just showed, but it may also be really helpful in other environments as well. And instead of having an entire chapter, you have modular pieces you can pick and choose. So in this case, I have a topic. It's 1 unit of information. Ideally, it is going to be not just all of that content. I've now narrowed it down to saving files. Content that you create can be saved to disk and later worked with. And apologies if in the grammar there's things like, I don't know, anything in the content where you look at it and you say, hey, that should, of course it should, and you are right. And the source content obviously came from a subject matter expert that doesn't go in and do grammification and editorializationing and things like that. Instead, I take what my subject matter expert's given me and I take a look through and I find the task, how to save a file, and I read it and I say, yeah, that's the procedure. So this is how you do something, the step-by-step. I also want to go through and have the concept so that I can explain to my reader why, what's the benefit, the reasoning of this function existing? Why would you want to save a document? And here is my logic for it. And then I also have the reference. So this would be quick access to the facts. And it doesn't always have to be paragraph based either. You'll see a couple of samples. So file extensions that we support include text, doc files. You can convert to PDF. That's my core. Topic, concept, task, reference. And then I use my map to organize the information. So the map comes along and says, here is the hierarchy of the content. And that then implies the logic that's needed at publish time for things like a title or a heading 1 or a heading 2 to organize content into a print environment, or to take material and make it available in an online help or a web-based environment. All of those different relationships can be implied through things like maps. So that was my 5 minutes. It's 12:05 according to my clock. So I'm actually pretty close on target time-wise. And again, if you need to, in the Q&A, you can put your questions to collect them, and feel free to chat a little bit between each other if you wish as well. The second session, I've got about 10 minutes, and I want to talk about creating your own. How do you go through and create a task, a concept, a reference, a map? And I have 10 minutes on this. So I've faded out a little bit on the left side and focused in a little bit on the right side, but there's sort of core areas that people come at creating DITA content, figuring out where do you start, how do you start. So you could migrate legacy content, you could work with existing materials that's already in DITA, or you could create something brand new. I'm going to work with a couple of ideas on each, but I'm really going to go in and try to spend time leading more to the work with new content, give you an opportunity to see things hands-on, a little closer to what you run into day to day when you sit down and you actually have to start working. So this is a document that I've written up, and it has multiple sentences, and I'm going to work my way through this in a couple of different ways. I'm going to think about each sentence, consider whether it falls into a concept, task, or reference, and if it doesn't, can I put it into a task? And I'm using some color coding. The color just makes it a little easier as I go through. So what I normally do in a hands-on environment is I take this, I either print it or I hand it to people digitally, and I say, go through and just look at this sentence and let me know. Is it a task? Is it a concept? Is it a reference? Or are you not sure if it falls into any one of those categories? And we continue to go through. And as we go through this, we look at each of the sentences and just make judgment calls. And it can be very arbitrary, very quick decision, because the idea is to take this longer narrative statement and figure out how do we go through and rework this material into something that is going to be much more of a DITA-friendly type of an environment. So each of these sentences is important or potentially not important. You never know how much information you're going to get from your subject matter, but this is the collective that we start with. And if I go through and I start highlighting it, I might end up with this, and I'll leave it sitting on slide 24 for a moment. I have a chunk of information, the first sentence. I'm not sure, concept, task, reference. I'll leave that one. I then have a chunk of content at the beginning and at the end in the magenta. And that is what I have arbitrarily decided is a concept. The bluish background is a reference and the green is a task. And what makes this interesting in a class environment is that there's usually around 60, 70, 80% agreement between people, and certain ones like the green, to insert an image from file in any, wow, this reads really great. To insert an image from file in any one of these applications, you can use the insert menu and choose picture. Most people look at it and say, yeah, that's the task. That's the core of what somebody's trying to do. And then we see if the other material can support that. I also reorganize it. So I'll back up a slide in a moment, but this has just collected together the no format, which I'm going to work with as a topic, the green, the magenta, and the blue. Back one slide. This information just reorganized, but now I can go through and take my source content and begin to work with it more and more in line with creating real content from a source that may not have been set up to be topic-based information. So I get to my topic. It's a generic idea. I like to use these to introduce the broad idea. So often I'll have the equivalent of, chapter 1, work with images. Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint allow you to insert a graphic. If you write that type of stuff well, and I put it together as a generic sample, if you write it well, you can often take entire tasks or concepts or references and reuse them in more than one place as well. So we'll see that as we work our way through the content. But I'm going to create the topic. I want to show you hands-on some of these things. I have gone through previously and created all of these files. So I am going to overwrite them. So you will see that a document exists, but I'm going to file, new, DITA, topic, step 1. I'm going to save it into a location. I'm going to give it work with images. So let me switch over to my FrameMaker environment. And file, new, DITA, topic. And apologies, the screen that I'm using is sized so that it looks really good for video. It's 1280 by 800. It comes across as a nice recording, but it means menus move from where I normally expect them to be, just because of the size that I've got available on screen. So as I shift things or move things, please bear with me. This document has a couple of things that I just want you to be aware of. One of them is the opportunity to go in and choose view and select things like your element boundaries as tags. Depending on the software you're working with, you get unique interface components. But this tag view is a bit of a staple in almost any XML and DITA editing tool. It gives you the opportunity to see where you are between tags. For those of you that recall it, welcome WordPerfect. In this environment, I'm going to do a couple of other things. I'm going to take my authoring environment and change that workspace so I can reset at any point in time if things look a little different on your screen. But I'm going to go to the XML structured. And once I've set the XML structured, I'm going to intentionally move things around a little bit and mess things up. And don't worry about memorizing this. As I said earlier, we have a set of YouTube videos that walk you through this so you can do it. But if at some point you try this and you say, there's things in places, yes, but you can reset the workspace. And that resets the workspace and puts things back. So I can click elements to expand it. I can click attributes to expand it. The other thing you can do is customize the space yourself. And one of the things I would suggest is start with a blank. And once you're in the blank workspace, add the pieces that you want. But for now, XML structured is going to do the core of what I need. So I'm going to leave it on that one. I'm going to do two quick things. I'm going to size this a little thinner, and I'm going to take the elements and drag it away and dock it. I'll put it right underneath here for now so that I have those two because I'm going to work with them quite a bit. All right, so view element boundaries as tags. I showed you that when I showed you a little bit of customization, work with images. So click in the title. I'm already there. Work with images. Oops, if I click in the title. Oh, I had not clicked in my document. Work with images. Now I have click in the short desk and type this, but I'm going to escape and cancel out of my slide deck. I'm going to copy so that you're not spending your time watching me type everything. And back in here in the short desk, I'm going to paste. And I'm using Control Shift and V so that I can paste it in as just plain text. I'm going to remove the prologue by clicking in the word prologue. I'm going to remove the body by clicking in the word body, and I press delete. So this gives me step 6 for the demo, and then save the file. And I had mentioned earlier saving it as work with images. So I'm just going to go in here, do a save as, and I have a DITA for all folder that I've created, and there is work with images. You can see the time currently reads 11:24. I'm going to save over that. And if I choose save as, you'll see that it now reads 12:13. I'm about 13 minutes into the session. I'm going to go back into the present here and move on to the next slide. So I did all of these steps. I've just created something. Yes, we have a youtube.com/publishing smarter. You can see a video of this. So I'm just going to move ahead. Task. So my task, people are reading because they want to do something. So I want to add linked pictures and talk about link graphics, ensure when a source changes, documents remain current. I have a prereq, I have a set of steps, and then I have a post-requisite when I'm done, position or size of the image, lots of stuff there. Let's unpack that a little. I start with my file, new, DITA, task. And I'm going to toggle back and forth between these. So file, new, DITA, task. And each and every single one of the things that you see here is customizable. So the entire template appearance can be customized. You don't have to see it with the formats that are here. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that from a publish standpoint. What gets really cool there, you can have your publishing using a different set of templates than you use for author. And that gets to be incredibly helpful. What I really like about it is probably the fact that I can give my authors additional tips and information. So for example, inside here, I can have author set up with a format so that in blue it says author and it reads enter author name here. I'll type in Bernard for a moment. Those little tips are great from an author standpoint, but it might not be things that you want to show in your publish. So you can have two different templates in order to make it easier based on what people want to do. So I'm going to add linked pictures and I'm going to copy this for the short desk. Add linked pictures. And I'm going to click here. And again, I use my Control Shift and my V to paste and bring up the dialog so that I have more control over it. I already know that I think I said to take out the prologue, so I'm going to go and check. For this demo, remove the prologue, update the task body. For what? Good thing there's a next screen. To this, add linked pictures. And I will start to build this, and then I'm going to completely cheat. So let me go in and just show you a couple of these things. It has a task body, and I want to add a prereq. So here's my task body, but prior to the task body is my insertion point. And I can come along and click inside my steps, in between. I can click into my command. So when I look inside this image, I see that after the task body, I have a prereq. And that appears before steps plural. There is a set of defined rules that DITA uses, and FrameMaker respects those. So as soon as I click between the task body and the steps, and watch the format, this currently says 1. I'm going to insert a prereq by double clicking it. Well, the 1 bounces down. I get the word prerequisite, and then I can type in prereq content. And then I can come along and I can start to enter step-by-step instructions. Now I have several of those to build. So I am, as I said, going to cheat a little bit and instead open the task for add images. And here it is. Take out this note and save the document. Add linked pictures. I'm a Canadian. Hey, there we go. So I've updated this. You know that it now has different text. All of this is as real as it gets. And I've gone through, DITA purists will say, hey, wait a second, you've got insert picture. Should that not be a menu cascade with 2 UI control? Yes, it should. It's a demo. So back to our full screen here. Let's see what we have. We have add linked pictures, link graphics, ensure when a source changes, your documents remain current. That's my short description. I have a prereq with a paragraph. Use tools to create images first, then add images as needed. The prereq is optional. I have my steps with command. Choose a location for an image, insert picture, choose an image type, double click the image to import. Guess what? That is pretty much step-by-step how you add a graphic in Microsoft Word or in PowerPoint or in Excel or in almost any of the software tools that are out there. It follows a pattern very similar to this. It might not be the exact words insert picture, but by and large, you pick a location, go through the menu, you pick an image type because you may want to see just JPEGs or just PNGs. I'm not going to get into how you pronounce GIF. And then you double click an image to import. And after you're done, you may want to position or size the image. Yes, we have videos on youtube.com/publishing smarter. Good concept, reason to use graphics. Graphics add values. You should manage your graphics well. This is giving some background so that my reader knows why they may want to do things. And again, file, new, DITA, task. Save it to a known location with a good name. In this example, C_. And I like using these letters C, T, and R when I'm on my local hard drive, especially because I can go in and use those to organize a folder and show me, is this a concept? Is this a task? Is this a reference? So pretty helpful. And again, in the FrameMaker world, file, new, concept. So DITA, come on mouse, concept. And it creates the concept file. You can see that it has all of the markup. It has the same general structure showing. It has a list of elements. That list at the bottom left of my screen is contextual. So when I click inside the P element, for example, you can see it has abbreviated form, API name, B for bold. If I click after the paragraph, but before the end of the con body, I can insert code blocks, con body divs, data. If I click after the author in the prologue, I can insert, whoops, the insertion point there. I can insert more than one author, change history, copyright, etc. So FrameMaker is just guiding me through the DITA specification, giving me an idea of what I can and cannot insert. Yes, we get it. And then I go on to my reference. Now the reference, I'm using a different structure. In this case, the multiple image formats can be imported. Table 1 graphic formats, here's the type, the extension, the description. That's built into a table. So my reference is more of a technical lookup. This is where somebody goes in order to find the quick answer when they say, oh yeah, I got to choose a file type. What are the ones? Right, JPEG, and it's often used online. That GIF one, just waiting for somebody to chime in with GIF versus GIF. This is my technical specification. I've already got that in FrameMaker as well. So I can come in here and open So I can also take existing DITA materials, and here's my supported formats. And just for fun, let me try to open this with Notepad++, and inside here, supported, I'm just going to add in supported graphic formats. I'm making a change in my text editor. Never a really good idea because I could break things, but I just had to change that one phrase so that it read graphic. You can see it reads 1221. I double click, I open it up, and it reads supported graphic formats. So even if other people are working with the DITA content outside of the software tool you happen to work, there's still DITA for all. You can take your task, your concept, your reference, you can open it in different tools. Okay, so apparently I have added slides talking about our website, and yes, it is youtube.com/publishing smarter for videos. And the reason I have it there is because we have gone through with AEM, with FrameMaker, and with other tools and put together how do you create concepts, references, tasks, and as of today, actually as we're speaking probably, maps. So it's just a short video, give or take 2 or 3 minutes, gets you through a couple of videos. And it talks about how to do the things that we've just done. And you can pause the video, you can try it yourself, it builds it from scratch. So for those of you who want to try things, that exists. Then we also have the map, and I talked about this as an organizational tool. So I could take those topics and concepts and tasks and references, as many as I want, and I could start to pull them together into various flexible structures. And I decided that for a training module or a class, I start off with a topic that talks about, hey, I'm going to teach you about graphics. Concept, look, this is why it matters. These are what graphics are for. Picture's worth 1,000 words. Here's another concept. Here's another one. And one of the concepts talks about importing graphics, saving graphics, creating graphics. Nested under that, I have the procedure. So I introduce the idea, then I have somebody do things. And at the very end, I have a collection of references and I say, look, for this chapter that we've just worked through in the training environment, for this module that you've just worked through online, here's where your reference information is. And tutorials might organize things a little differently. And for the help desk, I just introduce the topic and everything is equal so that a help desk user can quickly click, yep, here's the task. Oh, you need the text specs? Yep. You need the quick background? Here you go. It's a much less branching structure of information. And none of those is right or wrong. It's just a way to organize the information. So in FrameMaker, I can come along and I can choose File, New, DITA, Map. It creates a map. So over here, I have my untitled map. It has the default title. And then I come along and I just use my resource manager or document view and I start to add one or more topic refs. So I come along and I pick my map and then I choose to insert topic ref. So the first icon, topic ref. And here's what I really like. I can browse. This is actually, it's such a goofy little thing for me to be so excited about, but I can click and control click and control click and control click and select several, or I can click and I can shift click and I can add a whole bunch. Just select and they get added in and you'll see a whole list of them. And when I choose OK, they get added to the map. Now I'm going to throw that map away in just a moment, but there it is. You can see my DITA for all folder with all of my topics in it. I can take those topics if I don't like, I don't need this reuse note, so I'm going to delete that. I don't need this backup file, so I delete it. This work with images, I want to move that up. These here, I want to nest them. So I, again, have a visual interface in which I can work to reorganize information. And now I basically have the equivalent of my map, my organizational structure, all of my topics that I'm just closing off. And they are self-contained topics, but I have pulled them together. Go in and open a map that I've built so that you can see the relationship between several pieces. So here I have the map, work with images, subordinate task, subordinate reference, equal to the task as a concept. And again, YouTube videos, you can go and give it a shot. Oh man, 12:25, yes. Whew. I put myself on this really tight time frame because Stefan said, oh yeah, you can do all of that in an hour. And so far he's proving right, and I am really happy for it. So basics of reuse. So the early stuff that I've just shown you is, look, here's how you can think about things. Here's topic, concept, task, reference, map. Now I want to go in and show you the really cool stuff. there are times where I create something that I want to use in more than one environment. And sorry, there was a question about DITA version. It is 1.3. FrameMaker also supports earlier versions. Broad blanket statements, the purists will complain. It doesn't matter. The stuff that I'm showing you is broadly available in all environments where somebody might be working with DITA. What else have we got? We have reusable notes. Preferences may vary on how you do things. I'm going to create a standalone note. It's going to be in a generic topic for the reuse purpose. And once created, I'm going to insert it in each topic that I created earlier. So I'm also going to do a human-friendly ID, and you'll see that in a moment. So I like putting all my notes into one placeholder topic. And I'm going to create a topic with a title, with a short description that says, look, don't publish this. It has reusable notes. So it's just preventing, hopefully, somebody from dropping it into their document and saying print or create web or send a mobile app. I'm going to add a note and I'm going to add a remember. And I'll do this one by creating a new DITA topic and call it reuse notes and overwrite the one that's there. I'm just double checking that I didn't keep any. Yeah, I've got one here, a note, so I'm going to remove that. I don't want you to think that I'm cheating the system here and working with existing content, so I'm going to save that, close it. The reference for supported, I don't think I put the note in there. Nope. Add images, I believe I already removed it. I did. And work with images. I do not have the note in there. Excellent. So let's take a look at what I'm going to do. File, new, DITA, topic. Save it as reuse notes. I'm going to replace the one that I have. File, new, DITA, topic. I like saving the file right away. Technically, you don't have to. You could go in and do all kinds of additional work. But the reason I like saving it right away is that if my system, Windows yesterday decided at a certain point, I had forgotten to tell it not to restart at a given time, and it did its, I'm doing a major update, and it just shut everything down, and I lost all my content. It was really lovely. Reusable notes. Enter a short description. Don't print these. In full, they are reuse. Can you search and find note elements? Good question. There are the consultant answer, of course you can. It depends on. So there are all kinds of different ways that you can go through and search material. But yes, there are in the DITA spec rules around where notes are allowed. So you can then use things like XPath in order to find them. You can use functions inside software to find it. The really cool thing is when you're in a CCMS, you can go in and say, hey, where is this used? So that you know the exact impact if you make a change to a document. So definitely ways to search and find note elements. So don't publish contains reusable. Photoshop Illustrator is used to create images and convert them. And Stefan mentions using the Q&A pod for questions so that we can track them. I am going to come along inside here and do a couple of these things. For the demo, I'm going to remove Prologue and P element. Prologue, I click on it, delete. P element, I click on it, delete. Then I'm going to, in the body, add a note and type in Photoshop Illustrator is used to create images. So here we go. Note. There's note. I double click. PS AI used to create. There's my very brief note. I'm going to assign attributes to the topic and both notes. Have I created my second note? Oh, I didn't. I talked about it here. Remember, test images in all use cases. I'm going to add in another note. Click, scroll to note. I double click. There's also a keyboard shortcut. I've clicked Control-1. I can use note. So there's different ways depending on your preferences. And this one here is test in all use cases. Right, if you're going to create a graphic, make sure that you test it. Now I have my two notes. The problem is that these notes are really, technically the same thing. It's structurally speaking a bunch of notes. So what I'm going to do is, and again, on my screen, I'm pulling things apart just because of the real estate I have available. But I'm going to take this first note and I'm going to give it an ID that I think is a little more human friendly. So ID I'm going to call this one note create. And the second note that I click on, I'm going to call this one ID note test. And what I've done is given these two unique ways of being identified. So I can go through and I can say, look, not only do I want to find notes, but I want to work with the note that has an ID that talks about how to create and a note that talks about, using the ID, how you test. So I have a unique identifier, and that's going to become really important in a little while. So step 7 was assigning attributes to the topic and the notes so that they're friendly. My topic by default on first creation, FrameMaker does something really good. It creates a unique ID. It does something really human bad. It gives the ID a totally random value, which makes huge sense. You don't want it to just put in the word, apples and oranges, because who knows how often you're going to have different topics that you talk about apples and oranges, and it ends up giving them different IDs with a unique value, or you get an ID apple and an ID oranges, and then later on you go in and you do it again and you get more apples and oranges. So love what it's doing, but from a human standpoint, I'm going to call this reusable notes so that it's a little easier if I ever have to read the code to see what that ID was. But you have to do it first. You have to do this really early on, because if you start to build those unique IDs and you change them 6 months or a year down the road, people have started using them, and that can be a problem. All right. So I have to now insert some of these. I open a target topic and I'm going to use insert conref. I'm going to drill down to the file and insert it. Okay, so there's my reusable note. Save that. I'm closing my attributes. Just going to try to give myself a little more screen space. There we go. Let's try the task. So here is my prereq, use specific tools to create images. I'm going to click under the paragraph and insert conref. So this is content I want to reference. And that's not Adobe being clever by calling it conref and saying, haha, you'll figure it out. That's the DITA name of this thing. It is called a conref. There's different ways that I can work with this, but I'm going to browse and use my notes, my reuse notes, not my backup version. Select. And now you can see the two notes show up, and it has these nice human-friendly IDs. There's a note about create and a note about test. I'll use the create, and I insert it. Now, that note that says PS AI is used to create appears in blue because this is my author template, and I want my author to know that this thing exists for reuse and that the author is not supposed to come along and edit, because if they try, they're just going to blow it away. So I give them a nice visual piece that they can work with. That is my conref. I just double clicked it. I'm going to close my add linked pictures, and I'm going to open my reasons for graphics, and I'll just put in the exact same note. Down at the end of this paragraph, I'm going to insert conref. I'm going to, again, browse and go to my notes. I picked the same one on creating PS AI used to create, insert. And there it is, PS AI used to create. Save it, close it. By the way, it's not, I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble from Stefan for Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator can be used to create. There we go, I fixed it. That way legal won't come after him and he won't come after me. Of course, people who created the task don't know that I just did that. And the people who created the reasons for graphics, they don't know I just did that. And really, who cares? Because when they open, the conref is going to update and read Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator because it is content that is referenced. So far, so good. Stefan, thank you for the validation of loving the jokes. It can be a really dry topic, so it is kind of fun to be able to go through and do something interesting. So there it is. I've now inserted these. And as time allows, I want to show you some of this, but I'm at my 10 minutes. So I will try to show it in the CCMS side. This is conditioned, so I can go through and say, you know what? I want to have a couple of paragraphs or some steps that are specific to given audiences or only apply to Word or Excel or PowerPoint. So I want to be able to turn them on or turn them off so that I can go through and say, here is common documentation that applies to everybody, but I have unique information inside because there's certain things in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint that I want to add into my documentation. And then I can use this capability of a DITA val, a value for filtering. So if I run two different files and I say include things that are for my administrator audience, or in another publication, I say include things that are for my end user audience, I might have information that in my administrator guide talks about various things that need to be done behind the scenes in order to properly configure Photoshop and Illustrator, make sure that the graphics are well managed, etc. For my end user, I might have information in my documentation that strictly speaks about some of the benefits of going through and using the software tools that are already installed, like Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop, because my admins did it, and to manage folders and to put your graphics into these locations, because my administrator did it. And it turns out that I have unique information and an ability to filter it and then deliver it. So I'm going to try to fit some of that in. But I now have 37 minutes. I'm about 8 minutes instead of 10. I have to generate PDF and I have to generate HTML5 output. Out of the box, yes, we can. You get that answer from vendors. Yep, we can publish. But whatever the default is not what you want. Works great as a proof of concept. Yep, we can publish. But your company has your standards. It has your logos. It has your page size. It has your fonts. That's what you want. And customization can be an awful lot of effort. The more complex and the more involved your design and layout become, the more effort that's involved. Oh, we need a 3-column layout, but we also need a 2-column layout. And sometimes the column is 2/3 of the page and 1/3 of the page. And sometimes it's 50% and 50%. And we have rotated pages. We also have 2 different page sizes because we have oversized pages. That's a lot of work. But tools do exist to make it easier, both in the toolkit and in third party. So in the toolkit, you can come along and do all of your XML editor work the way I've shown you, work inside your content management system, create your topics, your DITA maps, pull them together and publish through the open toolkit. FrameMaker can also be used to do your authoring and your publishing. You can create your content, add things to it, manage your material, and then do multi-channel publishing. I'm going to show you a little bit of that one. If you really want to, you can fully automate your publishing using tools like FrameMaker Publish Server, where you can go in and do multiple outputs at predetermined times, kick off really complex workflows, all kinds of goodies. But I'm just going to show you this one. I'm going to take my map and choose File, Publish. I'm just going to use some of the defaults. So let's close this. Okay, that says Add Link Pictures A. I'm going to leave that just because I feel like it. Here's my map. Let's clean this interface up just a little bit here. I'm going to go to my blank and reset it just in case I've done anything with it that's different. Now I'm down to a slightly cleaner look and feel. I've still got the default content inside here, but this is my map. Let's see, 39, so out of 2 minutes, doing the math, it was 37. I said I had 8, it's now 30. I have 6 minutes left, and I have to publish PDF and I have to publish HTML5, or I'm going to run out of time. So, I should probably get to it. And I click File. I'm going to come down to the Publish button and wait for this thing to pop up. And I have a settings file that I created that was the default because I went in and customized. And once I've customized it, I needed a way to sort of roll back and say, yeah, but what happens to everyone else? So this default setting is the exact same thing you would get if you went in and you chose New, and then you went in and saved this as it is, or if you just launched FrameMaker for the first time. The output folder, I'm going to change this to be my C drive, my DITA for all, so that it appears inside the same location as everything else. And look at this, I got 5 minutes left. I'll double click PDF. This is where I always have that moment of panic. Did I install the Java runtime engine? Do I have the right version? Did I configure? And so far, so good. It's creating a PDF document. Literally, file, publish, I double click, I choose view output. Now, some people will like this, some people will not. Oh, look, it's got tags on. Oh, no, oh, horrors. It says add link pictures. Stop being so Canadian. I guess I should apologize for that. A little Canadian joke there. And the second page. So this is, it's okay. I'm going to just close that. Look really dumb. Why am I publishing it like that? Responsive HTML5, I double click. Oh, it's now in the chat that Circindo mentions. Drop us a note at techcom@adobe.com for any queries. Things like, how do you deal with the Canadian? Probably more like product related. So I double click responsive HTML5 and it's going to build me web content. Let's see what it looks like. View the output. So let me pull this free and show you a few things. If I change my zoom a little, because I am running it on my tablet, watch the side of the screen. So at a slightly less zoomed environment, you can see that the table of contents shows up. It can be expanded. You can click. There are links automatic. Look at this, add linked pictures, I click on the link, I hover over the link, and I get the short description that pops up. So it's important to use your DITA elements well. I get my narrative linking story of work with images that is the parent topic. I get supported graphic formats, which is the subordinate topic, and those links are automatic. So pretty cool. If I go to more of a tablet view, and I'm just going to take this and resize it a little bit, and let's say I'm in my tablet, which is slightly smaller screen resolution, and this is really cool. My laptop is a touch screen, so I tap, I go to reasons to use, I click work with, I click add linked, I go back to work with images, I collapse that. And if I wanted to go to a phone, well, I can pretend I'm on the phone instead here. I guess in order to do it justice, if I'm pretending that I'm on the phone while I'm doing this work, I have to every now and then say something that makes it sound like I'm paying attention, but actually play video games and chat. So I'll just act like I'm doing things that are work related. Yeah, no, Stefan, that's a great idea. I like it. Go for it. Look at me, I'm on my phone. So, woohoo. All right, back to here. And I got 2 minutes to spare. So the publish was open a map, file, publish. These are the default settings. That's what it looks like at the end of the day. So I'm now going to go in here, bring this back to the present, open a map, file, publish, and I use the defaults. So if you've never done it before, you can download FrameMaker. It's free, at least for 30 days. I think it's free. So you can test it if you haven't used FrameMaker. If you already are fortunate enough to have a copy of FrameMaker installed on your machine, see what I did there? If you're fortunate enough to already have it, you can go in and do this stuff right out of the box. You create a map using some of the samples that I've shown here, file, publish, you're good to go. Now I have to customize it. I have 15 minutes to customize, and I am about 5 minutes behind, so I'm going to try to tighten this one up. I'm going to clone a folder of templates, and there is a location that's already typed out here. Program files, Adobe FrameMaker 2020, structure, XML, etc. And I'm going to see if I can find that really easily for you, because I think I have over here a shortcut to my 16 folder, almost. All right. This folder is my FrameMaker 16 install folder. So this is where my personal preferences go. The other folder that I have is the C drive program files, Adobe. Inside Adobe, we have FrameMaker 2020, structure, XML, DITA. And in here, you'll see that I have a output templates. And one of the first things I would recommend, I'm going to switch back to the slides, create a clone of the templates. Do not manipulate the source folder. But this set of output templates, I've made a duplicate that I called Adobe Source. So I can always roll back to what Adobe's handed me. And then sometimes I take that and I do a backup and I zip it and I upload it to my Google Drive and then I email it to myself so that I never mess up the original. But I also have a custom one that I've put together. And there's not much difference between the two, but I did customize the cover because the Adobe source environment has a cover page and I don't want to use their cover page. Their book title, let me just open that up. Oh, opening up in my previous version of Frame. So let me just try this again. The default from Adobe has the Adobe logo on the first page. Copy the path. FrameMaker is just going to complain that it can't open in the previous version. I'm going to try to open it here. So this is their cover page, and you can see it has the company name, variable, Adobe book title. So if you make a clone of this, and then you go in and you customize and you change it, it should become your template. And you use the skill set that you already have working in a tool like FrameMaker. I'm just going to open up the other version of it so that you can see what I did, and I'll show you one or two things in it. So I go to DITA, I go to the Publishing Smarter version. I also have the book title. There it has my logo. It has some text about FrameMaker 2020. It has my name in it, Publishing Smarter. I'm going to add Publishing Smarter Inc. There we go, and save and close. Look, I've made a change in real time. If I now come along and build myself a new set, or I open an existing, I'm going to open up an existing first using my custom. Once it exists, this is what you do to use your custom environment. There we go, settings custom, I double click PDF. Now it won't have the ink, but I open up a set of predefined templates. I format them to my specifications. I create a new settings file, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, and I'm done. View the output. Here's my finished PDF. Oh, look. Now, it didn't have ink because I just added that, but it has my logo on the first page. Unlike the previous document set, it has a table of contents. It has, oh no, it has the tag showing. I'm going to make that stop right now because if I open up a file and I see the tags as an author, I like it, but now that I'm ready to do all of my publish, I'm going to go in and tell it, don't do that anymore. Just don't use the tags. And let's see where we are. I have about 2 or 3 minutes left, so let's do a little bit of customization here. I mentioned changing PDF and DITA options, changing others, coming up with responsive HTML, changing the link. That's an awful lot in 2 minutes. Again, you could start with new. I'm going to edit one that I already have and just show you a few things. Responsive HTML5, you can go in here and you can say, give me a new base look. So I use charcoal gray. And up here, I have Publishing Smarter Inc. There we go. I'm going to do a save. I can go to my PDF. Inside my PDF, I can go to the DITA options. And here is where I've set it up to give me things like a table of contents and generate, let's do an index and a list of figures and a list of tables. Why not? And for the DITA templates, I'm just going to import the folder. So I come along and I go back into that C drive, program files. I have 1 minute left, program files, Adobe, FrameMaker, structure, XML, and you don't have to memorize the path because I've given that path to you inside the slide deck, and I select the folder and it's imported the templates. I say, okay, save and close. And I double click on PDF and I go back to the slides while it's doing that. There's the path, hands-on, customize in FrameMaker 2020. Here's what I did. I cloned the folder, I opened and customized, I swapped out the graphic, really. I mean, that's what I did. I took the logo and I changed it to mine, and I populated some of the stuff with things like Publishing Smarter Inc. I created the new setting, changed the PDF DITA and template options, changed some of the others, whatever I felt like. The responsive HTML I made into the gray one. I saved it, and now I'm publishing, and hey, guess what? That's done. Let's see what we get. View the output, my PDF document, Publishing Smarter Inc. at the bottom. It has the contents. Now, I don't have enough in there for everything, so my list of figures is blank, but I did have a table. That's new. And it was a check mark. Oh, it's so difficult to customize. No, it isn't. It's easy to customize stuff. The difficult part is now you have to go in and take these templates and set them up. But if you need to do a demo and you just want to show somebody, yeah, here's things, FrameMaker does things, and it does things really quickly and it does things really well because of all of the heavy lifting that Adobe's put into it. Oh, I didn't do my responsive HTML5. Oh, that's so difficult. I have to double click and wait. I had to save my map because it was open. Oh, and I've given it that whole new look. I went with, and I've got to do mobile and HTML5, and it has to tablet and phone and stuff. Sure, view the output. There it is, totally different look and feel, but up at the top is my Publishing Smarter ink. I tear this one out so that I can just tablet it, watch the table of contents at the side as I go in and I resize. Dynamic, automatic. Oh, but what if it's a phone? Well, it's just as easy here. Oh, look, yeah, now I can start ignoring other things and people because I'm on my phone. And oh, there's all my previous and next navigation. Everything's there. Again, out of the box, super easy to get it started. So that was customizing. And now I have CCMS. So I've still, and I'm down to 8 minutes. I've still got to load all of this into a component content management system. So file CMS, the good thing is somewhere in here, I already have my editor set up. I'm just going to take a look. I've created, oh, good. I've got a folder called DITA for all. And okay, so I've got general description. It has stuff in it. My CMS has a DITA for all folder with nothing in it yet. Not good. I've got to go in here and I've still got to take all of this information. So let me just fire up my connection manager out of the box, and it works with multiple different tools out of the box. And my setup is Publishing Smarter. I've already got something inside here. I'm going to go in and hope that that was my password. I'm going to do a save password on it and connect. Good. And let's go in and open up the repository. And here's my content folder. It has my, I love this, it has my damn folder, my digital asset manager. Underneath that, I have my AEM demo. My AEM demo, I think, has my DITA for all folder. My DITA for all folder is empty. It doesn't have anything. I don't even know if I can do this slow enough to show how fast it is. So I'm going to upload a file with dependents and try. I'm going to grab the map. So this is my map on working with graphics, and I'm going to select it. I'm going to upload everything and choose OK. I'm going to switch over to here and check in my refresh. And I go to DITA for all. And there's all my, there's my add linked pages, plus my map title. Everything's already uploaded. It was faster than I could go in and show that it was doing things and it was already done. So now I've taken all of my content and I've said, forget it. I'm going to work over inside CMS tool. So I'm using the Adobe AEM insert long file name here product with XML editor add on for DITA on a Thursday. There's my DITA for all. I have my, that's going to really get old fast. Somebody's going to complain about that in my published output. So let me just get rid of that. There we go. Add link pictures. I can save that. Oh, I also have insert picture. And I'm going to turn on my tags view. Look familiar? Oh, look, steps with command. I'm going to take this command and I'm just going to insert, whoops. I'm going to insert a chunk of info. And inside this chunk of info, let's try that again. Info, there we go. Inside this chunk of info, I am going to add in a key element. Whoops. Jumping the gun. Okay. Hey, admin, you can do powerful stuff. There's my admin version. And I'm going to add another P element after that. So at the end of this, I press enter. Sure, I'm at the end. Whoops, I'm going to press Control Enter. Try Alt Enter. There we go. Too many shortcuts. I'm going to add in another P right after it. There we go. Alt Enter. I'm going to add another paragraph because I did tell you that you can do things like, hey, day-to-day user. Hey, day-to-day user. You can do some things that might be cool. Right? Admins have all the power, but this is only for the admin. And the last thing I want to show you for the DITA side is I can go in and say, look, this is my audience admin. This is my audience. This is a great demo to show people, by the way, if you're ever looking for one. Audience, you go in and you show them these two, and you say user, and then you just go over to the preview and you say, yeah, so there it is. And look, under step 2 is the admin and the day-to-day user. Of course, when we publish, only the user version, they don't see the admin stuff. They just see, hey, day-to-day user, you can do some things that might be cool. Our authors see everything. That's what our authors get to see. And our admin people, they have the user side of things. So, oh yes, I would fail to impress if I didn't say the XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager. There we go. It is a really cool combination of different things that I've tried to show you here. It is a lot of stuff to pack in, but I went in and in 57 minutes since we started, gave you all 6 of these things. So at the end, I went into the CMS manager, I connected, I uploaded information. I even did work inside the CCMS. And by the way, since I still have a couple of seconds left, let's go in and do one last thing inside here. I'm going to go back to my author. I'm going to save this. I'm going to close it. I'm going to take my map and I'm going to open it up in the map dashboard. And I'm just going to go in and say, build me a site, build me a PDF, generate. And it is now generating. So again, the publish capability that I have inside FrameMaker is inside FrameMaker. This is the publishing inside AEM. So now I go in and I kick off multiple publishing environments. I could go in and do all kinds of really cool things with my condition presets, my baselines, my translation capabilities. I could build reports. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just building output. And it was turn on a couple of checkboxes and let it run. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm checking the chat and I'm checking in the Q&A. So in the chat, I think it's been pretty casual. I don't see anything residing in the Q&A. I'm going to download and view the PDF. This is out of the box, did a toolkit type of thing. There's my content. There's my work with images. You'll notice that it no longer has the A because I went in and corrected that. And it also has, and this one's really cool, my AEM site where I can go in and say, hey, work with images, add linked pictures, reasons to use graphics, all of the capabilities that I showed you from the publish, including things like, hey, but what if I take my entire website and I have a customer who accesses it on the phone? Well, let them access it on the phone because everything that you need is already here. So with that, I will go back to my last couple of slides. I will remind you this is recorded, so it's a lot of information. It is at a quick pace that I have gone through it. If you want to reach out to me, my email address, my website, the QR code to my LinkedIn, I will show those again in just a moment. Yeah, there was something or the other about a YouTube channel. So thank you. Thank you to everybody who attended in the last minute we have left. A huge thank you to Stefan, everybody at Adobe who worked together in order to pull this in place. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to do these types of events, to have Adobe support it. I love what the products do, and I think you've had an opportunity here to see a lot of really powerful capabilities inside the system. Thank you.